The air hung heavy, thick with the rich, intoxicating aroma of fermented grapes, a scent that seemed to tell stories of years gone by. Dust motes danced lazily in the single ray of light filtering through a crack in the cellar door, creating an almost magical atmosphere. The earthen floor felt cold and damp beneath my feet, a stark reminder of the cellar's age and the secrets it might hold. This was the winemaker's secret lair, a place where time seemed to stand still, preserving the essence of every bottle crafted here. The silence was unnerving, broken only by the rhythmic drip, drip, drip of water somewhere in the darkness, echoing through the still air. Cobwebs clung to my face as I ventured deeper, each step filled with trepidation and a sense of foreboding. The air grew colder, a bone-chilling cold that seemed to seep into my very marrow, making me shiver uncontrollably. What secrets did this cellar hold? I shivered, pulling my coat tighter around me, trying to ward off the growing sense of dread. The darkness seemed to press in, suffocating and oppressive, making it hard to breathe. Fear, primal and instinctive, coiled in my gut, urging me to flee from this place. I should turn back. But something, an inexplicable force, drew me forward, deeper into the heart of the cellar, compelling me to uncover its mysteries. A soft whisper, barely audible, sent shivers down my spine. I froze, listening intently. Was it the wind whistling through the cracks or something else? The hair on the back of my neck stood on end. I strained to hear, my heart pounding in my chest. There it was again, a faint murmuring like voices from beyond the grave. I couldn't make out the words, but the tone sent a chill down my spine. It was a sound of despair, of suffering, of unimaginable horror. My hand trembled as I reached for my flashlight, its beam cutting through the darkness like a beacon. Shadows danced and swirled, taking on grotesque shapes in my imagination. The whispers grew louder, swirling around me, taunting me. I had to get out of there, now. My flashlight beam landed on something unexpected, something that sent a shiver down my spine. It was a copper pot, tarnished with age, sitting on a makeshift altar of stacked stones, as if it had been placed there with great care. But it was the glow emanating from within that made my blood run cold, a glow that seemed almost alive. It pulsed with an eerie, otherworldly light, casting flickering shadows on the damp stone walls, creating an unsettling dance of light and dark. The whispers seemed to intensify, swirling around the copper pot like moths drawn to a flame, their voices growing louder and more insistent. What unholy relic was this? I cautiously approached, drawn by a morbid curiosity I couldn't explain, my heart pounding in my chest. As I drew closer, the copper pot pulsed brighter, the glow intensifying until it was almost blinding, filling the entire space with its eerie light. The air grew heavy, thick with the metallic scent of blood, a scent that seemed to cling to my very soul. I stumbled back, fear gripping me like a vice, my mind racing with thoughts of what this could mean. This place was evil, I could feel it in my bones. A deep, primal fear that I couldn't shake, but I couldn't tear my gaze away from the pulsating glow of the copper pot, its mesmerizing light holding me captive. A sudden gust of wind extinguished my flashlight, plunging me into absolute darkness. I cried out, my voice echoing through the cavernous space. The whispers became screams swirling around me, clawing at my sanity. Panic surged through me. I was trapped alone in the darkness with whatever evil lurked in this cellar. The air grew colder, biting at my skin. It felt as if something was drawing the warmth from my body. I stumbled blindly, reaching out for anything to guide me. My hand brushed against something cold and hard, metal. A shiver ran down my spine. I had a terrible feeling I knew what it was. Section 5. The collar's cold embrace. My fingers traced the outline of the object. It was a collar, heavy and ornate, made of some kind of cold, unforgiving metal. It was icy to the touch, as if it had been forged in the depths of winter. The whispers seemed to emanate from the collar, whispering dark secrets into the darkness. I recoiled, my stomach churning with fear. What kind of creature wore such a collar? The image that flashed through my mind was too horrible to contemplate. A creature of darkness, its eyes burning with malevolent intent. The air grew thick with the smell of decay, of death. I gagged, trying to fight back the wave of nausea rising in my throat. I had to get out of there, now. But the collar held me in its icy grip. Section 6. The Blade Glimmering. As my eyes adjusted to the darkness, I noticed a faint glimmer nearby. It was a blade, long and curved, resting on a dusty shelf. The metal was polished to a mirror sheen, reflecting the faint glow emanating from the copper pot. It was a wicked-looking thing, sharp enough to slice through flesh and bone with ease. I knew then that I was in terrible danger. This was no ordinary cellar. It was a place of darkness, a place of sacrifice, a place where unspeakable horrors were committed. The whispers grew louder, urging me to flee, to escape while I still could, but I was frozen in place, paralyzed by fear. I could feel the presence of something evil watching me, its eyes burning into my back. I had to do something, but what? Section 7. A desperate struggle. I lunged for the blade, my fingers closing around the cold, smooth metal. The chill of it sent a shiver down my spine, but I held on tight. It felt surprisingly light in my hand, perfectly balanced, almost as if it was made for me. The whispers seemed to approve, urging me to fight, to defend myself. They grew louder, more insistent, filling my mind with a sense of urgency. I spun around, my heart pounding in my chest. The blade held out in front of me. Every beat echoed in my ears, a reminder of what was at stake. The darkness seemed to part, revealing a shadowy figure standing just beyond the reach of my light. It was as if the shadows themselves were alive, moving to reveal my adversary. I couldn't make out its features, but I could sense its malevolence. The air around it seemed to thicken with a palpable sense of dread. It lunged at me, a blur of darkness and fury. Its speed was terrifying, and I barely had time to react. I raised the blade instinctively, deflecting the attack. The clash of metal on metal rang out, a sharp contrast to the oppressive silence. The creature hissed, a sound filled with rage and hatred. It was a noise that seemed to come from the depths of some dark abyss. We grappled in the darkness, a desperate struggle for survival. Every move was a test of strength and will, each second a battle for my life. I knew that if I faltered, if I hesitated for even a second, I would be lost. The stakes were higher than ever, and there was no room for error. Section 8. Unmasking the Horror. With a surge of adrenaline, I managed to knock the creature back. It stumbled, its shadowy form momentarily illuminated by the faint glow of the copper pot. I gasped, my blood turning to ice. It was a woman, her face contorted in a mask of pure rage. Her eyes burned with an unholy light, and her teeth were bared in a feral snarl. But it was the collar around her neck that truly chilled me to the bone. It was identical to the one I had touched earlier, cold and metallic. The whispers seemed to intensify, swirling around the woman as if they were controlling her every move. She was a prisoner in her own body, a puppet dancing to the tune of some ancient evil. Section 9. A terrifying discovery. I lowered the blade, my mind reeling. Who was this woman? And what had happened to her? The whispers seemed to whisper her name, a name I couldn't quite make out. But it was a name filled with sadness, with regret, with a longing for peace. I took a step towards her, my hand outstretched. "It's okay," I whispered, my voice trembling. "I'm here to help." The woman hesitated, her eyes flickering with a glimmer of something akin to recognition. But it was fleeting. The rage returned, more intense than before, and she lunged at me once more. I had no choice but to defend myself. Section 10. Trapped in terror. The blade flashed in the darkness and the woman screamed. But it wasn't a scream of pain, it was a scream of triumph. The whispers seemed to rejoice, their voices echoing through the cellar. I stumbled back, my stomach churning. What had I done? The woman collapsed to the ground, her body racked with convulsions. The glow from the copper pot intensified, bathing the cellar in an eerie light. And then, just as suddenly, it was over. The woman lay still, her eyes staring blankly up at the ceiling. The whispers faded, replaced by an unnerving silence. I was left standing alone in the darkness, the bloody blade trembling in my hand. I had survived the night, but the horror of what I had witnessed, of what I had done, would stay with me forever.